This is Marquivus Furious Nias, and you're listening to Deeper Than Music Radio.
Deeper than music.
The core of you, the fans, the truth is deeper than music, deeper than music. Simply the truth is the latest, the newest. It's deeper than music, deeper than music. The core of you, the fans, the truth is deeper than music, deeper than music. Simply the truth is the latest, the newest. It's deeper than music, deeper than music.
Hello, what's up? How you doing? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Deeper Than Music Radio. Behind every great song, there's an even greater story. I like to say hello to everybody listening to us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Spreaker. Deeper Than Music Radio is more than just the music. It's basically us showcasing great talent in the world, people that are very creative and creating very lovely and great things in this world. Today we have a treat, and as you know, with Deeper Than Music Radio, we normally have monthly podcasts with Final Cut reviews where we review films. A couple days ago, we actually had our Best of 2019 film review segment, but today we actually have a person that's in the actual director's seat, who also has his own production company. Just to give you a little bit background, some of the movies that he's directed are The Stepdaddy, The Amityville Harvest, Big Freaking Rat, The Hard Way, Nation's Fire, The Rack Pack, Checkpoint, The Emerging Past, Lazarus, Mr. Hush, and Devoured. This guy is a multi-award-winning director, producer, and writer who founded his own production company, Churchill Productions. Ladies and gentlemen, we have special guest Thomas J. Churchill here on Deeper Than Music Radio. And Thomas, how you doing?
Hey, how are you, Marcus? It's great to be on your show today.
Thank you for being on. And I like to say, like, those are just a few of what you did, and I know there's a lot to your backstory. And the thing that amazes me is that this all started when you asked your dad to buy you a full-size VHS video camera. And to the millennials, you couldn't just do, I know now people do stuff with their phones, but back in the day, a full-size VHS video camera, that was a big piece of equipment. So is that how it all got started?
Yeah, pretty much. I goes back a little further than that, but as an actor, I wanted to be an actor, and when I was 7 years old, my parents had me audition for the movie The Champ, and I was in the top 5 selected for New York, and I really wanted to be an actor at the time. And then fast forward 10 years later, when I was 17, I still had the bug in me. And I convinced my dad to, buy me this video camera so I can make a movie. And what I wanted to do mainly was just to showcase my talents as an actor, but I didn't expect to fall in love with the craft of directing and producing and writing. And it brought me to, it's like some people, when they meet their significant other, they get butterflies in their stomach. That's the way I felt when I made my first movie. And it was strange, but really, really rewarding.
Okay, so you started off as an actor, and the intent, I guess, was to film yourself to showcase your acting skills.
Yes, I wrote a script, and I wanted to play this character, this lead role, and I convinced my dad to buy me this camera. And at that age, 17, my father wanted to teach me responsibilities, so I had to go out and get this, after school, get a part-time job and pay my father back. So this way, he taught me the value of $1, and that things don't come for nothing. If you want something, you gotta either pay for it, work hard for it, or set your goal and go after it. Nothing's just handed to you. And yeah, it was a full-size VHS RCA with unbelievable color. That's what it said on the side of it. And it was actually an updated full-size VHS camera, because before that it used to come in two parts. They used to have part of the camera, and then there was this little pouch that hung from the side over your shoulder, and that was your VCR part. And that's where you would put the tape to record through the camera. And then a few, years upgraded and everything else. So the one that I bought at the time was almost $1,700.
Wow.
But it was like the Cadillac of VHS cameras at the time. I think I bought it in Sears, just because that. Wow. Just thinking back to memory lane. Yeah, it was back in those days. There wasn't anything that was for the consumer.
No.
There was nothing called prosumer. It was just these type of cameras that, editing, you're on your own. So I figured out how to edit from tape to tape using dual VCRs, some stereo wire, some, because I needed to get music behind it. This was before, as you mentioned, the millennials. Millennials gets a program right now in their computer. They can do everything instantly.
Yeah.
A 5-year-old could go out and make his own little homemade movie because he's got all the tools. Imagine back in the day, we didn't have this. I didn't have access to this. I was born and raised in New York, born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens, in an area called, Glendale, Ridgewood, Glendale. And there wasn't anything electronics around. I mean, the closest electronics store that you would buy stuff was either Radio Shack, which is not around no more, or someplace. And we had places called, Crazy Eddie or The Wiz, which ultimately got bought out and became like Best Buy or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was a journey.
Yeah, and I wanted to say that, the thing that is most impressive and speaks to you, just being at that age and just working the business, and like you said, there were no there was no Vegas video, or there was no a final cut. Like you easily at your tips of your hands, like you really had to get technical and learn it.
Yep.
To my understanding, your first film was The War Master, about two teenage cops fighting a drug problem in their neighborhood.
Yep.
What was the genesis of that? How did that all evolve?
Well, it goes a year prior to that. A year before that, I was doing acting. I was in junior high, and a friend of mine was part of this thing called the New York Showcase Company, because he thought he wanted to be an actor. Mm-hmm. And I thought, back in those days, you don't really talk about really what you want to do, because then if you find out, that other people want to be actors, you can't really talk loud about it because people will laugh at you. And you live in a dream world. You can't be an actor. You can't do. We're talking the early 80s. So when I found out my friend from school was part of this New York Showcase Company, which they do plays and performances, I wanted to go down and meet whoever he was doing. So I auditioned. First time I ever auditioned, and they liked what I was able to do as an actor, and I became part of that showcase. And then they asked me, wow, you seem like you know how to tell stories. So I wrote my first few scripts there, and I wrote this story called The War Master that I performed on stage. And it was very short. It was the birth of The War Master. And then I felt something with the story that I wanted to, spread more to the world about. And that was the story that I wrote a little bit more on, and I convinced my dad to buy me the video camera, and I shot that movie, which was based on the play. And my friend and I were both into film, but then, no, we did a small version of that first with another friend's camera, and I knew I wanted to do it. So then my friend I'm talking about decided he wanted to follow his father's footsteps and run the family. They were like hairstylists. I don't know if there's probably a real technical term for a barber, but that's what they were. And I went on to continue doing the acting. And after we did The War Master, now it's a year later, I'm in high school.
Yeah.
And everybody's coming up to me, telling me, "Oh, I heard you made a movie. Look, there's this competition going on in Queens called the Queens County, I can't remember. It was Young Queens, Young Persons Film Fest, something like that." So I didn't know what that was, what a film festival, I never heard of that back in the day.
Was it the New York City Independent International Film? No, that wasn't it. That was
that was a little later.
Oh, okay.
But the film festival, I didn't know what I was doing. So 15 different people. It was about 15 different people over a course of a week, between friends from school, friends from outside of school, and family, told me, "Why don't you submit it?" So I submitted it, and when I went down and dropped the tape in and my application, I asked the guy how many people submitted. He said, "Including you?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Around 1,000."
Oh,
and
wow.
I said, "Oh, wow." So I didn't even think there was that many people that had the same interest coming from the neighborhoods that I lived in. Then I got a letter that told me I needed to be present during the award ceremony. And my older brother took me, and we're watching all these movies, all these shorts, all these movies that happened, that submitted, that was in the competition. And then I found out I won. I won. That was my first ever winning of something that validated what I did. And I was really excited. And the guy said, "No, I hope you do another one and submit it next year." I said, "Oh, you guys do this every year?" So I did do another one, and that also won. So I was riding high on these type of things that I figured, how do you get these movies now to people? How do they watch it? Because back in the day, there wasn't all these streaming services and everything else. You had like your main 5 or 6 channels, or cable. And if you had cable, you were rich back then. And I went around to these video stores in my neighborhood, and I asked them would they put my movie. I made a video box with a little picture, and I did like the whole, home packaging. It wasn't like you didn't have a print that I can go and print these boxes out for you. So I'm doing these on these type of big white clamshell type of video boxes, and I'm doing when I'm making copies. I have to go back and do it. There's no master copy to do it. You have to go back again, tape to tape, wire to wire. So every copy of the War Master is a little different than another copy. With the sense of maybe the music started on this level, this word instead of that word, or it was just how things fell into while you were doing this. So the video stores asked me a question about, hey, why would we want to have a homemade video in our store? And I said, because I think it would be cool. They said, let me ask you, if you came across a homemade video from another filmmaker, would you rent it? And I said, yeah. He said, why? I said, I would be curious. He says, that's all I need. So they ordered some tapes from me, and then I got a bunch of orders because the newspaper found out about it, and they were the Daily News. There was a Times News Weekly, the New York Newsday. All these big papers found out about me. People coming over my house, interviewing me, and all of a sudden, this movie became popular, and I'm selling copies. Then I didn't know how much to sell, so at that time, normal videos were $29.95. So that's all I kept saying, $29.95. So,
no, I think that's the most impressive that you went. And mind you, like we said, this is back.
I was 17.
Before, and this wasn't when technology was like now all you got to do is upload it and find a host, your Amazon or your YouTube. What was the pitch? Because, I mean, that's so impressive. Like you said, you're 17 and you go to the local... You go to like the local like movie place or rental places and like, hey, I want you to or movie stores. I want you to carry my like. What was the pitch?
I remember one guy because I was always in there renting movies because it was like my local video store. The guy's name was Vinny. I remember that great. And I went in there and said, "Can I speak to the owner?" Because I was friends. Like the people that worked there knew me because I was always in there renting movies. So here I'm asking to talk to the owner. And they're like, what's the matter? Is there a problem? I said, no, I just want to. So he came out. He says hello to me because he recognizes that I'm one of the people that always rent from his store. And I said, I make movies. And he looked at me and goes, you make movies? And I said, yeah. I said, I'm an independent filmmaker. I made a movie. I put it in this festival. It won. And I was wondering, how can I get it to add to your, for you to rent it? And he was looking at me like I was crazy. He's like, well, we usually have a distributor, but what do you mean? I'm curious now. So he says, I'll tell you what, why don't you leave me a copy? Let me look at it. And then, let me see if it's something I would want. I said, okay. I left him a copy. I got a call back about, an hour and a half later after we watched the movie. And he said, yes, I would love to have your movie if you make some posters and we can tell people you're a local talent, you're local. And that's what they did on one of the shelves. Local resident, makes a movie and people rented it.
So local support was very, very strong in your area. Okay.
Then it got bigger because the newspapers got a hold of this. And now you're going out. All right, because New York consists of 5 boroughs. You got Brooklyn, Queens. Now you're going out past all these boroughs to the major newspapers, the New York Daily News, the New York Newsday. All these people are contacting my house, contacting the video store to get my information, calling my house to see if they can set up an interview.
Wow.
And I got all these people, coming to my house. And, I went to school when I went back to my high school, which was Franklin K. Lane High. One of the newspapers came out. I was almost centerfold, and it said the Spielberg of Franklin K. Lane.
Wow, that's huge.
And at the time, people think that was an insult. They're like, hey, look at Spielberg. Hey, look, hey, Hitchcock. Meanwhile, they think it's an insult, but the people that call them, make them, names at me are people that my idols. I love Alfred Hitchcock. I love Steven Spielberg. Those are my two that I have that type of style. And it's just at that age, they were speaking it into reality. I didn't know I was going to end up living in Hollywood. I mean, that was my dream. I didn't know I was going to end up making all these films. Some of the films you mentioned earlier, I didn't direct 2 of them that you mentioned. One I wrote. One, I just wanted, in case anybody's listening, they're like, oh, he didn't direct. The Hard Way I wrote, and that's on Netflix. And the movie Mr. Hush, I produced, and I'm in it.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I just wanted to, sorry.
And I know it's The Hard Way. It's, I forget his name, Jay White or...
Michael J. White, right, Randy Couture, and Luke Goss. I wrote that script. I was supposed to direct the film. We were talking about doing it with Steven Seagal, and then things changed, and then they wanted to shoot it in Romania. And at the time, I couldn't really go to Romania. I was in the middle of prepping another project here, so I just wrote the film.
So early in your career, because when we hear about movies, we hear about budgets. For example, like Bad Boys 3 is coming out Friday, but then you hear about, okay, it's got to be picked up by this studio. Like, there's a whole bunch of politics behind it. When you first started your making films, did you, like, as far as I'm thinking, cost versus, was there any, like, did you see money coming in and you just reinvested in equipment, and like, how did it all grow?
Well, great question. When I first did it, I had no idea. I was doing it for the love of it. I was doing it to make a movie to showcase who I am as an actor. Kind of the Kevin Costner movie, Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And I built it. I did this mainly to get attention as an actor. I didn't get roles, but I met people. I ended up meeting, a lot of, people that could further me. But at the time, you're naive. You don't know that this door can open that door. You're just doing it because, these people like my film.
Yeah.
I did 5 neighborhood movies, and I marketed it the same way that I did the first one. And then I felt like, okay, I'm done with the neighborhood. I'm done with these stores. What's next for me? How do I get out? How do I get out of the bubble? Now, I am grateful for that opportunity that I've done, that I was working with. Like, I didn't have any big stars in my films. One of the movies, fast forward, was a movie called A System Devoured. And A System Devoured, I had some recognizable faces in it from people that, just by luck, that knew this guy, that knew that guy, that knew this guy. So I shot that movie and ended up submitting that to the New York Film Festival, because that's the next level. You know, you got a neighborhood film festival, Queens County Film Festival. Now you got the New York City, Independent International Film Festival, which is big, So I submitted it, and I get a phone call saying, we need you to be at the award ceremony. And, your film is one of the finalists. Please be present. And then I show up and I win. Best video feature, which was just, there's nothing more greater than you doing something blindly, not knowing, you're just following your heart, following the little voice inside of you telling you what to do, when you got the rest of the world telling you, don't do this. You can't make a career. There's no job. You're going to have to fall back on something, figure it out. How you can't make money. It's not a real job. I heard this all through my family growing up. And I always had a real job. I've done carpentry. I've done painting. I worked for Boar's Head. I was a pharmaceutical. I worked for pharmaceutical companies where I was an operations manager, a director of operations. I did jobs that people had spent careers in, and it wasn't enough for me. I listened to the little voice inside of me that told me what to do. And that voice was given to me from, spiritually wise, I'm going to say it was God telling me what I needed to do. Do this, follow that. So Devoured, System Devoured ended up becoming a Devoured that's out there. Because I went out and shot some more stuff a couple years later, and that was the first movie that I call that my film school, because that was the first movie that I had a small budget, bigger budget than the other movies, and I was able to start a project and finish a project.
Oh, okay.
And most people spend all their money midway through, and they want to do things big, but they don't realize you're going to need that money to the end. And that was the first film that I did everything. I was the director, the producer, the writer, the star, the editor. I did everything because I wanted to see, well, not just about saving money, what you're good at. You know, like, what am I I'm testing myself. So I don't do sound no more. I don't do I'm not my own camera guy. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be my own lighting guy. So I'm very comfortable. I don't even care about editing. I'm comfortable in my writing, my directing, my producing. Acting, I still enjoy it. But, you know, depending on what the role is and when is it, what I have to do. Am I directing myself? Am I producing? So that's a different thing. The last film that I actually directed, produced, did a little bit of writing on, and was given a role which I wasn't expecting was the Rack Pack. I had a good time with that, but it was not my style, not my script. You know, I co-wrote the film for the guys that produced it because it just needed a little tweaking. And all I did was pretty much produce, direct, and play the character named Antonio opposite C. Thomas Howell, which that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. But other than that, with the exception of something that I'm putting together, I'll talk to you about it before the end of the show, because I'm going to revisit the War Master and Devoured character.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's basically with budget-wise, as you said, with studios, how studios put up the money and all. I learned I had to leave my neighborhood and to understand the business. So when I felt like I was at the capacity of the bubble, I wanted to know what was past that bubble and how the films actually work. So yes, I had the mindset as a businessman at 17 years old when I was talking to video stores and trying to negotiate distribution, but I didn't know how large distribution can be for your films.
Yeah.
So I left pretty much New York when I came out here, and I've learned more of the business out here than and wherever I was at. And I always tell people when I do conventions and signings, the first thing I always tell independent filmmakers, because I respect them, I'm still them, but they have to leave their neighborhood. They have to leave their comfort zone to understand what Hollywood is. Hollywood, the beast. Even if they go and they move out to Hollywood for a year, 6 months to a year, they have to do it. It will make them a better filmmaker, because then they can go back and understand you just can't have, George, insert last name here because he had a one line in a movie that was 30 years ago and he's your neighborhood celebrity. You can't just put him in because nobody cares.
Yeah. You
can't put an actor in that wore a mask 40 years ago in a horror movie that nobody cares. It's got to be, it's beyond that. And people need to understand that as filmmakers. You can't just do something and get somebody because you think they're a neighborhood celebrity because they were on Jeopardy.
Yeah.
No, you know what I'm saying? Or they were on the Real World for one episode, and you're going around telling people, "Hey, I got so and so from the Real World." Nobody cares. Nobody knows who those people are. And it's not being mean; it's just being real. Because when you leave your bubble and you go to the real world, the Hollywood, you're going to get that bubble popped.
Yeah, and it's a whole different ball game.
That bubble popped. You want that bubble popped so you understand what is needed, so you can go back to your, you know, your own spot when you're comfortable, and go make a film that the people that just popped your bubble is going to want to see.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, as it seems like as you were getting press, as you were getting awards, did the recognition, did that help, like, establish, like, broaden your market and broaden your brand?
No, you know, some of the awards, yes. I've won a good amount. Some of them, yes, and some of them, nobody cares. They're good. You know, the awards are good for you, the person doing it. Because you can see, it's like telling you, you know, subconsciously, you're on the right path. Keep doing what you're doing. You know, don't let anybody tell you different. Everybody's born with a skill. It's whether they listen to that voice and follow that skill throughout their life, whether they're going to be successful or struggling. And if you're follow that skill that you had in you your whole life, and there's going to be sacrifices. There's going to be things you're going to miss that you're going to regret. But if you keep the path and you keep it in your heart of hearts, you know, clean, and you don't do any nastiness to people on the way up, because you're going to meet the same people coming back down.
Yeah.
So you stay true to you, number one, you know, and focus on what you need to do. It would be there for you, no matter what the job is. Whether you want to be a fireman, a lawyer, a doctor, a movie star, an actress, a model, a musician, if you stay with it and you fix it and you stay focused, it'll come to you. It's just the one question is, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
Do you want it? If you want it badly and you keep doing the right thing, you'll get it. But if you want it badly and you do some crooked things along the way, it's going to come to you in weird ways. So you want it the right way.
And out of your whole career, like your whole massive career, what has been like the most rewarding moment?
A finished product. When somebody's actually watching, you know, they read a script that you wrote, and when they tell you, wow, this is really good, this would be great. And then when somebody watches the film and it's everything that you put in that script, and you sit in that theater, whether it's a movie theater or the back of a room, wherever they're showing you a film, and you're watching everybody laugh or cry or squirm on the right parts, you know, that's to me the pinnacle. Because the cool thing about that is the closest someone can come to getting inside your brain, is what you're giving them on that screen. Wow, especially someone like me that writes and directs. I'm directing everything that I wrote. So everything that I wrote, when I'm writing, it's just me and that laptop and the fake world in my head until I build it and it becomes real. And like tomorrow night is the world premiere red carpet event for one of my latest films, Nation's Fire, which stars Krista Grotti Saxon, Gil Bellows, Kristen Renton, Lou Ferrigno Jr., Bruce Dern, Chuck Liddell, just to name a few. There's a whole genre, a bunch of people, but that film was I did that 2 years ago. And during the course of 2 years, you know, it was with distribution. You know, it went from one person to another, but now it's finally coming out. Tomorrow night's the red carpet event, and then Tuesday, January 21st, it'll be worldwide VOD and DVD. People can go out and check it out. It's an action thriller. Mm-hmm. Biker film.
Congratulations with that. And as with all my interviews, we got like 10 minutes left. One of the questions I have is, what advice would you give like somebody that aspires to be like you and want to be an indie director and start off the way you started off? What advice would you give them?
Stay humble, stay hungry, and don't take no for an answer. When I say don't take no for an answer, is there's going to be a lot of doors that's going to close on you, and there's going to be a lot of doors that's going to open. Don't take the doors that close on you personal. You just keep focused because you know you're on the right track. And if one door closes, there's going to be 15 doors that's going to want it. And all you have to do is believe in you, believe in your work, believe in your path, and it'll come to you. You know, just stay humble. Don't get cocky. People always get knocked down when they get cocky. Mm-hmm. And like I said, as much as you're climbing to the top, the same people you're climbing up to the top and going to be passing, you're going to fall, and you're going to see the same people coming back down. So you stay true to you. You stay true to what you want to do, and you just listen to that little voice. Don't step on anybody. Don't hurt anybody going up, and just 100% believe. You believe, you're going to achieve, you're going to receive.
Man, that's powerful right there. And I know you said before we get off, the War Master.
Oh, yeah. So I decided I wanted to do something personal, and I'm going to go back to, I got all this footage from when I was 17, 19, 25, and 30.
Wow.
Of behind the scenes. So we're it's not a reboot. It's a new story. Name of the film is going to be called Chinatown to Chinatown. And it is going to be, I'm going to reprise that character again. So that's going to be, it's a personal film for me. It's going to be an action film, action thriller, but it's personal because you're actually going to see me age on film without any sort of special effects.
So it'll be the actual natural aging effect.
Yep.
So with that said... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say with that type of film, that action film, we're looking to get it going pretty much, probably start shooting maybe the summer or spring or fall, but it's going to be done this year. And then it should come out. It'll be out next year. And that'll be the first film that's under Churchill production that I officially wrote, produced, directed, and starred in.
Wow. That's pretty impressive, and it's forward thinking, too. I don't know of a film that was created like that. And that's pretty amazing that you can dig in the archives to create something like this. Last question is pretty much shameless promotion. You mentioned your production company. Anything in the works for 2020 and in the future?
Yeah, we actually have 4 movies coming out right now for this year. One is Nation's Fire, is the first film coming out. Then we have a movie called Big Freaking Rat that's coming out, which is kind of like Jaws meets Friday the 13th, but with a big rat. Then we have the Amityville Harvest, which is about a vampire. We have the Stepdaddy, which is a kind of a reimagined movie from the early, I think it was the late 80s, with pretty much we have a bunch of projects going into production now, we just, sometimes people think all I do is horror films, and I'm humbled with the horror movies, but I do, I like thrillers, and I think I do just as many action thrillers as I do horror thrillers. Checkpoint, Nation's Fire, The Hard Way, Xenophobia is a sci-fi movie. The Rack Pack was a family movie. The Hard Way, Checkpoint, Nation's Fire, those are action films. So I don't want to be, I try to stay to give the audience, I'm a storyteller. So I want to give the audience a variety of films that if they like my work, they'll keep coming and be interested in other projects that I'll be doing.
Yeah. No, and like with your movies, I mean, from your experience coming from an actor, then from an actor to being a writer, producer, and then the accolades and just your story is just incredible. Definitely looking forward to more to come, and actually like the Hard Way. That's a pretty good series, a pretty good movie.
Thank you very much. We're actually we're gearing up to do. You may see the Hard Way 2 soon.
Oh, okay. Looking forward to that. And I mean, you just have a vast catalog, and now I'm gonna have to go back and check out some of these other movies that I haven't checked out. But Thomas, man, thank you for coming out on the show. Thank you for your time and just sharing your wonderful story. I like what's impressive is like I remember the VHS cameras, and like you said, it's so easy now with technology to do the color grading. Like people can do their own special effects. You come from that era when you actually had to work with, it wasn't just a click and click, drag, and all that stuff. So you come from where you actually had to really edit.
Yeah, and then if you didn't get it right on that first try, you got to go back and start the movie over.
Yeah, I like it.
There was a lot of like aggravated sweating and trying to get, you got that cold sweat running down your back trying to make sure that you do 90 minutes without a mistake. And it made me humbled, man. It made me know and appreciate where I came from and my path that I've been on. And again, if I can help or share or guide people, that's what we're all on this planet for, to pretty much teach and point and do. And, I'm grateful. I'm grateful every day that I'm here doing it. And like, in the words of, actually Tony Montana did not say it, but every day above ground is a great day.
Yeah, and that's the truth. So, ladies and gentlemen, you just heard another great episode with multi-award-winning writer, director, producer, and founder of Churchill Productions. Our special guest today, Thomas J. Churchill. And again, thank you again for sharing your time, your journey, and giving us words of wisdoms. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mark of Deeper Than Music Radio, and Thomas J. Churchill signing off for another great episode of Deeper Than Music Radio.
Thank you, guys. God bless you guys. Thank you very much.
The truth.
Sorry. Were you off?
Simply the truth is the latest, the newest, deeper than music, deeper than music. The core of you, the fans, the truth is deeper than music, deeper than music. Simply the truth is the latest, the newest, deeper than music, deeper